We've got a huge one in Spain. It's Real Madrid against Girona. Before we welcome in Sam Marsden, I want to have a little listen to Carlo Ancelotti at his pre-game press conference. And of course, the question was asked, is it a title decider, Carlo?
Obviamente que gana mañana toma ventaja, pero la Liga sigue siendo muy larga. Yo creo que estamos muy bien, nosotros, el Girona, muy bien posicionado. Creo que el partido de mañana no va a decidir nada de lo que va a ser la Liga en los próximos meses. Va a decir que uno de los dos equipos puede tomar ventaja en frente a los otros. Esto es la cosa más importante. No creo que la Liga se decide mañana, pase lo que pase.
Let's start in Madrid with Sam Marsden, who'll be covering the game for ESPN. And I'm going to ask Janusz exactly the same question as Carlo Ancelotti was asked. Title decider for you, or more important for one team than the other?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Leverkusen against Bayern, but I just feel that Real Madrid are so much, there is a difference. I like Girona. I like everything about him. I'm going to continue to doubt the fact that experience in the final moments of the season. It may not be here, but I just think Real Madrid, regardless of the result here, are going to see that through. So from that standpoint, I just think that Real Madrid has way too much for the rest of the season for this one game to decide the title.
Sam, what's your narrative?
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think it's a title decider, but I do feel if Real Madrid win tomorrow to go 5 points clear, that's an absolute huge blow. I mean, they're massive favourites in the title race. I know there's only 2 points in it at the moment. The one hope would be that Girona can, the hope, I guess, for maybe not for Real Madrid fans, but for people hoping that Girona can do it or that we can get an exciting title race, is that Girona at least stay within 2 points tomorrow. And then perhaps when the Champions League comes around and there's a little bit more emphasis on Real Madrid playing midweek as well, they sometimes perhaps, slip up or drop points at the weekend. I think that would be the big hope for people hoping Girona stay in. But yeah, tomorrow is a huge game for, Girona playing down their own title hopes. But their narrative has switched now towards sort of European Champions League football, even if they're not putting themselves in the title race. I mean, if they go to the Bernabeu after beating Barcelona 4-2, after beating Atletico Madrid 4-3, if they then beat Real Madrid, who are, of course, the only team who have beaten them in LaLiga this season, if they can beat them on Saturday, then it's going to be very, very hard for Michallik to sit there after the game and say, no, we're not in the title race.
It might even require an article. I mean, how about this for an idea? Why don't you write an article about maybe Girona, compare them with Leicester or something like that? Do you think that's something you could do?
Yeah, I think it's quite a novel idea. I don't think anyone's thought of the connection yet. So I reckon we could look into it, see if there's something there. I mean, the numbers. Girona are actually posting much better numbers than Leicester. The problem that they've got is obviously Real Madrid aren't relenting, aren't giving up any points. Madrid themselves have lost just one game this season against Atletico Madrid. They beat Girona when they met earlier in the season. And yeah, they're at a points haul or a points tally, which sort of Leicester just didn't have from their rivals. Leicester were, had the perfect storm, if you will, of Leicester having a great season and then all of the other sort of Premier League challengers sort of falling away or not posting high points tallies that season. Arsenal finishing second with 71 points. Girona are already just 5 wins away from 71 points. So that's their big problem is Real Madrid. So if they can sort of take Real Madrid down a peg or two tomorrow, then the Leicester fairy tale will be really on the cards here in Spain as well.
And you have written an article, haven't you?
There is one on the website, which basically summarises that and says, Girona are actually doing better than Leicester, but Real Madrid, big problem.
Yeah, and I want to take you back to September, and no one really batted an eyelid when Real Madrid went to the Montilivi and won by 3-0. How much better now are Girona from the side that lost 3-0, their only defeat to Real Madrid back in September?
Well, look, I mean, the similarities, right? I'll go back to that because the one that I can think of, between Leicester and Girona, and I'll move to this very quickly, is they're playing with house money. I promise you. I mean, I'm trying to think as a player, at this stage, nobody's Girona is even players don't think about winning the title. They understand where they are. The closer you get to it, if there's a possibility, then you may be starting to think, well, it's quite possible. But if you're Girona, I mean, they already know they can play against the best. But, on any given day, and especially at the Bernabeu, I don't think necessarily that last minute goal or stoppage time goal that Atleti score helped Girona in that way, because I think now, even with a win with Real Madrid, for sure we could say the title is over in many ways. But I think they'll be free to play, and that's the most important thing. Playing with house money like this, there's a massive difference, in my opinion, in quality of play between that of Leicester City and Girona. Obviously, Leicester City were a little bit more counterattacking and winning tight games or not losing. Whereas Girona truly can play against everyone, and those experiences, like you've mentioned, of being Real Madrid, beating the best teams, allow you to think that anything's possible, and then you can do it again.
Okay, Sam. Girona has a double-digit lead over Athletic Club in fifth, an 11-point lead. So it's going to take a bit of a collapse if they don't finish in the top four. That would mean Champions League football next season. It would also see us get our books out for UEFA Article 5 about teams owned by the same establishments. The City Football Group own Troyes, they own NYCFC, they own Manchester City, they own Girona. Now, preference is given to the team that finishes higher, but how do we get around this? How do they get around this and ensure that both Manchester City and Girona, if both are in top four, which is likely, can both play in the Champions League next season?
Yeah, as you say, there's obviously that UEFA article which sort of restricts certain things, but it's quite sort of loosely worded if you look at it, and probably quite deliberately. And we have seen in the past sort of decade or even less, the past 5 years, teams that have been part of the same ownership group or have had sort of linked owners, for example, Red Bull Salzburg and RB Leipzig, who've both obviously changed their names now in terms of European competition. And what they had to do was prove that the day-to-day sort of management and running of the club was completely separate. We had a couple of cases at the start of this season with Aston Villa and Brighton, who've got partner clubs in, I think it's Portugal and Belgium. They both had to sort of prove similar things within their owner group structure as well. So I'm sure the people at City Football Group are working and looking into ways to how they can do that. As things stand at the moment, it wouldn't be possible for them to both go in, as you say, and you're left in a situation where whoever finishes highest out of the two in their respective league would go into the Champions League. So there's going to have to some sort of jiggling around. And Girona do have a separate structure. While they're part of the City Football Group, while City Football Group own 47% of the club, the day-to-day decision-making, they have the president. They obviously have the Girona Football Group as well involved with Pep Guardiola's brother. They have their own director of football. It's all sort of separate in certain ways. So I'm sure there'll be ways that they're looking around. But yeah, it's one above our heads to work out and one for them to, we won't be giving them any tips how to work it out on here.
So last week I was commentating on Girona against Real Sociedad, and that 36-second delay from an offside to a different phase of play to a goal that was chalked off. Bottom line, Michallik saw a red card in that game. What's the talk this week about what he's going to do with regards to his players before he has to sit in the stand for this one, Sam?
Yeah, so Michal's got a 2-game ban. I mean, it's hard to know how sort of important or significant that will be. Obviously, he is quite a vocal manager on the touchline. He spoke after the game against Real Sociedad last week about how he likes to be on there, how he likes to be close to his players. And he is someone who makes a lot of changes. Girona are a very fluid team, and he makes a lot of sort of changes inside. So I guess that will slow down the element of sort of, communication between him, because it will have to go to the bench and then to the players and whatnot. So it will change certain things. Girona also lost Daley Blind and Yangel Herrera last weekend, picked up their 5th yellow card, so they're both be suspended as well. But it's similar on the Real Madrid side as well, because they've obviously got quite a lot of their defenders out. I mean, Courtois, Militao and Alaba have been out for a long time now. Antonio Rudiger is a big doubt. So Madrid themselves could be patching together a back four. There's talk, if Rudiger's not fit, of them going Carvajal and Tchouaméni as the two centre-backs. So I'm sure Artem Dovbyk, another slight fitness doubt, if he's fit, will be licking his lips at the thought of going up against them. But yeah, obviously a big blow and a shame for the spectacle, really, given how important Michel is to this Girona team and how they play, that he won't sort of be, visible there on the touchline.
Any concern about Vinny, who was obviously taken out the team late and was still a kind of sub and warmed up but never got on last week? They expecting him to play?
The Ancelotti saying today that Rudiger's obviously a big doubt, but that Vinicius is much more likely to be back in the running. And it seems that he will play. Obviously, like you said, even though he pulled out of the lineup last week, he was still on the bench. So the hope is that it's nothing too serious. He's trained this week, and unless there's some sort of double bluffing going on, the expectation is that he's available.
Yeah, it'd be good if he plays and Dovbyk as well, who missed out on the game against Real Sociedad. And they're a very different team, nowhere near as good without Dovbyk in attack. Okay, Janusz, time to get that crystal ball out. You as well, Sam. What are we expecting here? Real Madrid heavy favourites to win the title, favourites to beat Girona, but they've scored 4 against Atleti and Barca. What you got for us, Janusz, with this one?
No, I still think, even with all the issues in the back, and as Sam was saying, I mean, Tchouaméni has played there, I think, a couple of games. I think he'll adjust. I mean, if Rudiger is not available, then we have, again, Carvajal probably there. We saw what happened against Atleti when Marcos Llorente scored that late goal. But I don't worry about that because I think the strength is in front. They're at the Bernabeu. I often don't think that loss of a manager is significant, but I think it is for a team like Girona at a place like Bernabeu, because players sometimes do look for solutions, right? It's not always the manager that tells them what to do. Sometimes it's good to come to a manager, even within the play, to kind of say, here's the problem, here's where we're struggling, what do we need to do? Those little conversations that we don't often see. But I just think that Real Madrid is going to show their quality here and will win this game.
Sam.
Yeah, I'd love to be contrary, but it's so hard to see past Real Madrid. Even though they've got a few issues in defence, it didn't affect them too much last weekend against Atletico. They've got such a strong midfield. You know, Girona's strengths are that they play front foot football, that they do push forward. But that means that the defenders are all sort of piling forward. You know, Miguel Gutierrez inverting from left back. The centre backs have been, Daley Blind and Eric Garcia for a lot of the season, who are not considered sort of, strong centre backs. So there's going to be chances for Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Joselu, whoever plays in attack for Madrid. And as we saw in that first game, Madrid are quite sort of good at riding with the punches. So I'm sure we see Girona make a fast start. They probably have a couple of chances, but I think Real Madrid will be more clinical. And yeah, it's hard to see past a Madrid win.
And by the way, just quickly, not having Jan Herrera and Daley Blind, no matter what you think, I mean, his experience is important. Maybe not quick enough and all this, but Michel, and not having those two, it's a big loss, because we're just talking about Real Madrid missing their players. Those are key players, in my opinion.
Yeah, Daley Blind's their most used player. Yeah.
Can I talk?
Go on then.
Thank you. I just wanted to say goodbye. That's all. And I wanted to tell everybody where we could see the game in North America and the United States. There you go, on Saturday, 12:30. Right, this is going to require a bit of jiggery-pokery. This is going to require 2 screens, because you're going to want to watch Bayer Leverkusen against Bayern Munich on ESPN+. You're going to want to watch Real Madrid against Girona as well. So it might be the old multi-screen requirement on Sunday if you want to watch both. They kick off at exactly the same time. Our pre-game coverage from the Bernabeu begins at noon Eastern on Saturday, ahead of Real Madrid, top of the table, against Girona. First against second in Germany, first against second in Spain. My thanks to Sam.